Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into what looks like, well, a pretty random list of Bible verses.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way on the surface.
We've got Philemon 1.12, Joshua 5.12, Haggai 1.11, Genesis 23.2, 1 Kings 22.3, 1 John 3.1, and Nehemiah 7.67.
Quite the mix.
But our mission, is to look deeper, find those connections, those non-random themes that tie them together, maybe give you a new way to see things.
Exactly. It taps into this core idea that these texts have a kind of inherent design and interconnectedness.
So what sources are we mainly leaning on for this?
Primarily, we're looking at the Charles Thomson Bible. It's from 1808. Really significant.
Like that.
Well, it was the first complete English translation of the Septuagint, the ancient Greek Old Testament. Super important for context.
Okay.
And we also checked it against the Urim Thummim version from 2024. It's another Septuagint-based translation, quite modern, known for some fresh takes.
And it's interesting, J. Barton Payne, in his Encyclopedia Biblical Prophecy, points out that something like, 27%? Nearly 30% of the Bible is prophecy.
Right.
Which really suggests, it screams intentional design, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even in verses that seem miles apart. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so where this gets really interesting is seeing these universal patterns pop up, patterns that echo right into our world today. Let's start with human conflict and maybe reconciliation.
That's a powerful one. And what's striking is you have these two verses showing like opposite ends of the spectrum.
How so?
Take Philemon 1.12. Paul sends Onesimus, the runaway slave, back. But listen to how he frames it, my own heart.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's not about property. It's a radical call for seeing him as a brother in Christ, totally redefining that relationship. It's about transformation.
And then you flip to 1 John 3.12. Bam. Cain killing Abel.
Exactly. Pure wickedness, envy leading to fratricide. It's that primal destructive conflict.
So when you hear about something happening, say, on June 28th, 2025, like that mother in Halifax, still pleading for answers about her son's murder after 13 years. It's not just a news item, is it? It feels like it plugs right into that ancient struggle against wickedness, that deep need for, a justice that actually heals the conflict at its heart.
A profound kind of reconciliation.
Okay, what about moving forward? Like claiming a future. That brings up themes of inheritance, transition, maybe human effort.
Yeah, look at Joshua 5.12. The manna stops.
The miracle food.
Right, it stops the very day they eat the produce of Canaan, the promised land. It signals this huge shift.
From what to what?
From passive dependence, God just providing, to active stewardship.
Right.
They have to work the land now. It's their inheritance, but they need to engage with it.
Which kind of raises the question, doesn't it? How often do divine promises actually need us to, step up and act?
Precisely. And you see a glimpse of that in Genesis 23.2. Abraham buys a burial plot for Sarah in Canaan.
Just a burial plot.
Yeah, but it's more than grieving. It's his first concrete stake in the promised land. He's acting on the promise, investing in it, even though the full inheritance is way off.
And you see that kind of human effort, that taking hold all the time. Think about June 28th, 2025, the NHL draft picks, right?
Yeah.
Or Nazim Sadikov's huge UFC comeback win.
Right, real examples of pushing forward.
These are people actively pursuing their goals, pouring in skill, perseverance. It echoes that shift from just waiting to actively, doing.
You're taking stewardship of their potential.
Okay, last theme area, community. Identity, priorities, what we value together.
Nehemiah 7.67 is fascinating here. They're listing the people returning from exile.
Rebuilding the community.
And it specifically mentions singing men and women, choristers.
Why is that detail important?
It shows it wasn't just about numbers or rebuilding walls. It was about reestablishing their spiritual and cultural identity, their shared expression, their soul, really.
And that connects to Haggai.
Yeah, Haggai 1.11, if you look at other translations, talks about a drought. And it's presented as a divine judgment.
For what?
For neglecting the temple rebuild while focusing on their own fancy houses. It's a stark reminder about priorities, right? What comes first, personal comfort or collective purpose, especially spiritual purpose.
That really hits home. And you can see echoes of that drive for community and identity today too, can't you? Events on June 28th, 2025, like the Peace Forum.
Seeking cooperation.
Or celebrating Christopher Street Day. They're different contexts, obviously, but both highlight that human need to build community, foster cooperation, affirm who we are together.
Reestablishing order and shared identity, just like the exiles.
So wrapping this up, looking at these verses that seem so scattered, what's the takeaway for you listening?
Well, it really drives home that these ancient patterns, they're not just history lessons.
Right.
They offer this really powerful lens for understanding what's happening right now, the currents that run through human life always. So here's a thought to maybe mull over. How often do things in your own life or in the news, things that seem totally separate, might they actually be tapping into these larger timeless themes like justice or growth or building community? What patterns do you start to see when you really look?